Hello everyone, I'm Zeenat Firdaus. I have Dr. Sukant Khurana with me. He is a well-known entrepreneur, mentor, scientist, public speaker, and an artist. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
So this series is about art and technology, and I would like to ask you some questions. My question to you, sir, is can art and technology be used to create new kind of reality?
That's a very loaded question. New kind of reality for several things. It already does create new kind of reality, whether it's the can of Coke that you're sipping, or is it the national project, right, of creating a new country, a new image for a country, be it left, far right, resurgent nationalist, an internationalist image or something. Reality could be a new kind of reality, what transforms everyday mundane life into magic, right? Um, where people are bickering about who's supposed to fetch milk in the morning or who's supposed to drop off kids, transforming that thing into making somebody feel absolutely special. Can you build a reality of getting people out of depression? I think art has the power to do all of it. Art alone doesn't have the power to do it. And those who make distinction between art and technology should go and be locked up in art schools, right? They're not the ones who can create revolutions. So, if you mean in the sense of transforming the world, yes. And we are not just talking of high art, we are talking of street art, we are talking of low art, we are talking of protest art, we are talking of anti art. Yes, we can fundamentally transform reality and build new kind of reality. Let us take, a project. I know they're both people who are supporters, the people who absolutely detest where India is headed, and there are people who absolutely are in love with where India is headed. Let's take India as an example. We'll take one or two other countries from a nationalistic project point of view. So, India has an aspiration as the oldest civilization in the world, or one of the oldest civilizations in the world, one of the biggest cultures, if you don't even view it in the narrow confines of India. If you think of Indo-Aryan influence, Sintashta culture, BMAC across Central Asia, you think of some of the Tipto-Burman influences, which are now partly in separate countries of South Asia, Southeast Asia, East Asia, right? If you think of Indian influences going all the way to Philippines in form of gods which resemble Hanumanji, right? Or if you think of Indonesia being under kings which were originally from what is modern India for hundreds and hundreds of years, longest period of their history, right? And understanding even migration of people across Southeast Asia, South Asia, everything coming from there. So there is a palpable feeling in almost everyone, other than a small parasitic class who want to oppose anything which can lead to grandeur, which can lead to success. Other than a small class, both on the right and on the left, that's the privileged class which basically breeds on corruption, babus, fake scientists which are dominating Indian science, horrible academicians, bureaucrats, and some rotten judiciary, or the old vestiges of journalism. Even the new is not much. I mean, new is unquestioning support of either the government or opposed to it, right? So India has an aspiration, whether it's heading towards that direction or not, it's not obvious. But in this particular case, what art can do, right? Let us discuss that. But India has definitely an aspiration. It is not really the second largest population. In reality, it's already the largest population. It is not the most educated population. It is having a potential and it has huge genetic diversity. If you look at IQ scores from India, you have people who migrate to US, are the founders of maximum number of companies, are the CEOs of maximum number of companies for any ethnic group. The most successful group as ethnicity also comes from India, but also there is an underlying reality which may be largely or entirely because of nutrition, centuries of deprivation, epigenetic effects, trauma, horrible judiciary, horrible police system, everyday stress, that you also have groups of population which score lowest on the IQ test, right? And then there is a whole political populism which will try to deny the reality. If you don't accept the reality, you won't fix the problem, right? So India's problem has been basically collective uh, politics, right? Uh, Whether it's collectivism coming from right end, let's say some knee-jerk Islamist movements, which even resulted in partly, not entirely, Pakistan creation is very complex, which resulted in one of the worst separations, cardinal sin at the birth of India, which in my opinion reflected huge weakness of Nehru. I mean, I'm not going to go into details of, otherwise it'll be a 10-hour session of how Nehru screwed up. And I know it's very hugely unpopular thing because everyone who's an artist or scientist loves to worship him bigger than their gods, right? Criticizing Nehru or Marx is a cardinal sin in India, in the intelligentsia. But whether Nehru screwed up, what Jinnah did, not just one or two personalities, thousands of personalities, positive role and hugely negative role of Hindu right wing also, right? So there are a lot of complexities. There are complexities of Communist Party, there are complexities of our British sowed seeds of division, but also reaped the crop sowed by others, right? And the feudal remnants. So I'm not going to go into all the complexities, but if you look at what is India's thing, we have knee-jerk far-right movements from uh, minority groups, majority groups. We have knee-jerk, extreme militant Naxalite movement and parasitic class of people who endorse Marxism, and now you can see the same Marxists in Bengal became part of Trinamool. So from creating a new reality without saying I agree, not trying to be politically correct, I'm the least politically correct person, without saying whether I agree with the Prime Minister's project or not, but there is an underlying visceral need in India to rise. And if you think of niches, right, that life itself is victory of will, right? So there's will in India, there is substrate in India, and there is a parasitic class which is stopping it. Now, can art transform that, right? Can art transform a reality, right? Create a new reality. So the reality of India is there is trash lying around. There is also reality that one of the best monuments are there. You reality is we have parts of rotten education system. Part of reality is that you have smartest brains also coming from India, right? So reality is complex. Now, by presenting an optimistic picture, let's take what AI can do, create a new reality. I'm not going to necessarily give you a long lecture on naturalism, realism, magic realism, right? Various such movements in art which originated, right? There was social realism, there were various things as a result of even modernism and this whole idea of pseudo realism, right? Not just romantic realism. Various things which have evolved over periods of time, even rebellion against the way art was done post Renaissance, right? I mean, there's a pre Raphaelite movement in West, and unfortunately, Indian art scene in comparison, I'm sure much to the chagrin of any Indian artist listening to it, has been relatively sterile, right? India had one of the most glorious art past, but last 200, 300 years, there have been some bright spikes, bright sparks, but not extremely impressed. Nowhere close, not even hundredth of what the West has done, right? But what can be achieved, right? If you look back into India's glory, if you look into what are the current achievements, can you create a sort of a neo-realism which takes into account aspirations, where let's say you have identities projected. I'm not much of a flag person, but let's say you have identities projected in form of the national flag, or you like some leader, let's say Swami Vivekananda, obviously admirable person, huge courage, I mean, unparalleled person, or Bhagat Singh, right? Or there are aspects of Nehru which are admirable. There are a lot which I am critical of. Or there are huge aspects of Prime Minister Modi where he's unified a large section which I'm obviously in awe of. And then there are huge aspects of his rhetoric or silence I'm critical of. But with whosoever you want to build your narrative around, right? Realities are built on modern myths. So wherever this myth building, this reality building is happening, You take that image and you take your image, and instead of doing it on a Photoshop, let's say AI is building it. Now, instead of just a photograph, can AI be used to create a print of massive mural? And that mural is then painted by humans, right? So the AI is coming into being, not just to do what Photoshop does in form of filters, right? Whether it's painting or a sculpture, but AI is coming in to even provide the right juxtaposition. So there you have a lot of data science. There you are also doing sentiment analysis of even running small experiments on social media. You're saying, what would you like to see, right? Let's say, absolutely, I mean, mind-blowingly beautiful Gomok. You say, what would you like to see next to Gomok if you had an option, right? Would you like to see Badrinath and Gomok together? Would you like to see Prime Minister Modi next to it? Would you like to see uh, a sculpture of, like a painting of dancing Lord Shiva in form of Natraj next to it, right? Are you building a new kind of reality which makes people aspire to not be human, to be superhumans, right? So if you're building a nation, now I gave you a nation example. Now let's say you are a guy half my age, not 43, let's say 23, and you want to sweep your girlfriend off her feet. Do you want to say that here is a possibility of you proposing to her in, let's say, one of the most beautiful parts of the country in Meghalaya? Or you want to do it, let's say, in a boat, right, in Srinagar, and you're overlaying images and you're basically saying, these are my dreams for you. And your AI reads and gives you a visual output. If you make a canvas, if you're not wanting to spend money, maybe that money that gets in form of a photograph. If you have the money to impress your, let's say, romance of life, where you think you want to marry this person, and you basically get that, and you have artists employed in making paintings based on this template, there is a huge possibility of neorealism, right, to shape your life. Now, the neorealism can also be applied to somebody who's suffering from depression. I've had worst case of depression. I lost my mom to it. So, can you make people happy, right? Can this happiness even be part of how your screen on cell phone is, right? Okay, and need not all be canvas, need not all be photographs. So a new form of art, high art, street art, when you're traveling in a metro, all generated with the help of AI or AI inspired and generated by humans, right? Human creativity working in sync with artificial intelligence. It's not artificial intelligence or natural intelligence. It's both working together to create better humans, to create better educated humans, to create super thinkers, to create a better country, maybe to create a better international organization, to create a better sports team, to create a better romantic life, to create better harmony in society. I mean, art has the power to transform. And I think a new kind of realism will be born. And I hope that I'll be part of shaping that new kind of realism. I hope that answers your question, rather long-winded way of saying yes, a new kind of reality is possible.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. And it was very insightful. Thank you. Thank you for answering my question.
Thank you.